Hello, welcome back to the Breaking News Update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got a breaking news report coming out from Russia. We're going to talk about Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in today's video, as just today he came out in a threatening statement stating that Germany is directly involved in this war with Ukraine. So take a look at your screen here. Sergei Lavrov says Germany is directly involved in the war in Ukraine, commenting on the statement by German Chancellor Friedrich Merz that Germany would fund Ukrainian production of long-range missiles, and said that Germany's involvement in the conflict is now obvious. Okay, so huge statement today coming out from Lavrov, and he's responding to a comment that came out from Friedrich Merz today, as I gave you guys an update earlier this morning that Friedrich Merz, the German Chancellor, was stating during a press conference with Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, that Germany would be funding the production of long-range missiles that could eventually be fired into Russian territory as deep as 2,500 kilometers. So this is very big, and now Russia's coming out saying Germany's directly involved. I'll show you guys that statement coming out from Lavrov here in just a minute, but we're going to talk some more about this today, and I also have an update that apparently on Monday, June 2nd, is when the second round of talks is going to begin between Ukraine and Russia, most likely in Turkey. So let's go ahead and jump into this, guys. We're going to hop on over here to X with Anton Gerashenko. It says German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, a memorandum on the understanding will be signed between Germany and Ukraine on the procurement of long-range weapon systems manufactured in Ukraine, known as long range. There will be no restrictions on their range. Germany will finance a significant portion of Ukraine's Starlink coverage. Russian strikes are a slap in the face for all those who are fighting for a ceasefire, not only in Ukraine itself, but also in Europe and the U.S. Thankful to the people and government of Germany for standing with Ukraine, okay? So I'm going to show you guys this statement. It's a minute and a half from Friedrich Merz. So it's going to be a huge statement here, okay? Because for one, they're going to be allowing Ukraine to start building these long-range missiles they can use to strike inside of Russia. Germany's going to be funding it, and we also heard just about a week ago that apparently all restrictions have been lifted for use of strikes inside of Russia for any kind of weapons coming from the West. We heard that even the U.S. reportedly has lifted their restrictions, but there also was some conflicting reports I showed you guys over the last day or two that indicate that maybe the U.S. hasn't done that, but apparently Germany, the U.K., and also France have all lifted restrictions for strikes inside of Russia right now, and Ukraine can start using the weapons they currently have on top of these new missiles that are allegedly going to be produced inside of Ukraine. So take a look at this video real quick.
Das Positionspapier für Verhandlungen, das Präsident Putin vor über einer Woche zugesagt hat, lässt bis heute auf sich warten. Und die massiven Luftangriffe, insbesondere auf die Stadt Kiew vom Wochenende, sprechen nicht die Sprache des Friedens, sondern sie sprechen die Sprache eines aggressiven Angriffskrieges. Das ist ein Schlag ins Gesicht all derer, die um einen Waffenstillstand ringen, in der Ukraine selbst, aber auch in Europa und in den USA. Wir werden unsere militärische Unterstützung fortsetzen und wir werden sie ausbauen, damit sich die Ukraine jetzt und in Zukunft eben gegen diese russische Aggression weiter zur Wehr setzen kann. Und ich will in diesem Zusammenhang etwas Neues hervorheben. Wir finanzieren einen beträchtlichen Teil der Starlink-Abdeckung des Landes, und unsere Verteidigungsminister werden heute eine Absichtserklärung über die Beschaffung weitreichender Waffensysteme aus ukrainischer Produktion, sogenannter Long-Range Fires, unterzeichnen. Es wird hierbei keine Reichweitenbeschränkungen geben. Die Ukraine kann sich damit vollumfänglich verteidigen, auch gegen militärische Ziele außerhalb des eigenen Staatsgebiets. Das ist der Einstieg in eine neue Form der militärisch-industriellen Zusammenarbeit zwischen unseren Ländern, die großes Potenzial hat.
Okay, so from what I understand, Germany is doing this right now due to the strikes that were happening over the weekend. We had Ukraine being attacked by more than 70 ballistic and cruise missiles, also hundreds, I think more than 500 or 700 drones were entering into Ukrainian territory over the weekend as well. So Germany is allegedly responding to those attacks at the same time as Russia is supposed to be negotiating with Ukraine on trying to end this war. So that's kind of Germany's response behind this. And then the Russians are coming out now as saying that Germany is directly involved in this war. And, they're taking it as Europe is trying to sabotage the negotiations right now. Also, we've talked about that over the last day or so. So now we're going to move on to another update here from Anton Gerashenko. Germany is sliding down the same slippery slope it has already followed a couple times in the last century, down toward its collapse, says Lavrov. Russia's very unhappy about Germany's decision to help Ukraine produce our own long range weapon systems. Hence, the decision is the right one. Okay, so Anton Gerashenko says produce their own long range weapon systems because he actually lives in Ukraine, in case you guys didn't know that. So take a look at this clip, guys, about a minute and 10 seconds long. Sergei Lavrov speaking about Germany and their decision to allow Ukraine to produce long range weapons they can use to strike inside Russia.
Мерц не только подтверждает, что действительно для Украины сняты все эти ограничения по дальнобойным ракетам. Сегодня на пресс-конференции с Зеленским он вообще заявил о том, что они будут финансировать производство дальнобойных ракет на Украине, чтобы потом Украина могла ими стрелять туда, куда считает необходимо.
Если я правильно понял то, что я читал, Мерц сказал на пресс-конференции, что он имел в виду с самого начала именно финансирование производства любой дальности ракет на Украине. А речь, значит, о поставках германских ракет якобы не идет. Надо проверять. И то, и другое. Нагнетание напряженности, поддержка войны. И Германия прямо втягивается в эту войну.
У нас же уже танки немецкие, бывает, ездят по территории. Если еще и ракеты...
Они горят в основном, они ездят. Вот, поэтому прямое вовлечение в войну уже очевидно. А Германия сползает по той же наклонной плоскости, по которой она пару раз в прошлом веке уже двигалась вниз к своему краху.
Okay, so you can see here from Sergei Lavrov claiming that Germany is directly involved in this war, that them allowing Ukraine to shoot missiles into their territory is direct involvement. Now, we have heard this so many times in the past coming out from the Kremlin, so I'm very curious to see how they're going to respond to this in the future, as last time, we've had ATACMS missiles from the U.S. flying into Russian territory. We've had Storm Shadow and Scalp EG missiles as well. Those have entered into Russia's territory. So before, they never really responded to this. So I'm very curious to see how they're going to respond in the future. So now here's an update from Anton Gerashenko. A new round of talks between Ukraine and Russia will take place on Monday, June 2nd in Istanbul. According to Lavrov, reportedly the Russian delegation will present their memorandum on a ceasefire then. Russia has no intention of sending the memorandum to the United States. So apparently they do not want the U.S. to know about the conditions of this peace deal. And they're stating they're going to be presenting this, on June 2nd on Monday. So we'll see what happens here, but it looks like Ukraine and Russia should be meeting sometime by Monday or on June 2nd in Istanbul, Turkey once again. And we have not heard any confirmation directly from Ukraine yet, but maybe Ukraine will come out soon and state they will be attending that meeting over there. And I think it's going to be the Russian delegation will be leading it by Medinsky again, like last time, the same representative who held the negotiations for the Russian side in Istanbul just a couple weeks back. Okay, so finally, one last thing I want to show you guys. We actually talked about this a little bit this morning with our update video for the Russia-Ukraine war, but I want to discuss this a little bit more in regards to the peace talks that are going on. So from St. Javelin, Putin's conditions for ending the war reportedly include a written commitment to halt NATO's eastward expansion, formally excluding Ukraine, Georgia, Moldova, and other former Soviet republics from membership, according to Reuters. Russia also wants Ukraine to adopt a neutral status, certain Western sanctions to be lifted, the issue of frozen Russian sovereign assets in the West to be resolved, and protections guaranteed for Russian-speaking citizens in Ukraine. If Putin realizes he cannot secure a peace deal on his own terms, he will try to demonstrate through military victories that peace tomorrow will be even more painful for Ukrainians and Europeans alike. So here's that report exclusively on Reuters today. Putin for Ukraine peace wants a pledge to halt NATO enlargement, sources say. So yeah, it's just a lot of the same demands we continue to hear from the Russian side. They don't want a NATO expansion along their borders, although they've already got Finland right on their border right now as well. Even, some of the Baltic nations, of course, also surrounding Russia's border and Belarus. But we know they don't want Ukraine into NATO, and apparently that includes some other nations like Georgia, Moldova, and other former Soviet republics. So we'll have to see what's going to happen here, but I firmly believe that we're not going to see any movement with this peace deal once again. The U.S. might have to act on it. If Trump chooses to do that, maybe sanction Russia. I think that's a highly unlikely scenario. Maybe the U.S. will just back out completely and allow another mediator to come in. But we'll have to really see what happens here. Just wanted to share this information with you guys as well and let you know what Putin's going to be calling for most likely in this memorandum that gets presented to Ukraine this coming Monday on June 2nd. So let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.